Hi there, and welcome to Storytime with Kay. Today we will read a PAW Elementary Mason Falls for Autumn by Katie Melko and illustrated by Natalia Gubanova. This book was published by Paws Publishing in 2022. Roxy rushed into Mason's room to wake him up early one morning. Mason rolled over and groaned a "Get out" warning. Ignoring him, she announced, "It's the first day of fall." Mason opened his eyes and heard the sound of a bird's call. He was meeting his best friend, Vladdy, at the park to play football and have some fun. The weather was beautiful, and an excited Mason began to run. Mama hollered, "Mason, bring Roxy with you. She's meeting her friends too." As Roxy ran out with her backpack full of fun, Mason hid before popping out, yelling, "Boo!" Walking through the neighborhood, their friends came out one by one. First, Noelle, with her brother, Vladdy, in tow. Together, they walked by a very scary house that was decorated for Halloween, with pumpkins, ghosts, and even a black crow. Mason pointed up to the sky. "Look at that squirrel collecting nuts and running up the tree." His friend Harwich shared, "My mom said the squirrels are collecting food for winter, and the leaves will change colors to bright orange, yellow, and red. I can't wait to see." At the park, Roxy and friends head to the playground to go on the swings, while Mason and his friends went to the football field to do other things. The next day, Mama and Papa took Mason and Roxy to a festival that had everything apple, even ice cream. Mason and Roxy joined Vladdy and Noelle in a potato sack race, and Mason and Vladdy were the winning team. The friends went into the field to pick apples from trees, eating them while they walked, giggled, and smiled with glee. Mason saw Simba and Addie and waved them over. "Next weekend, we're going on a hayride and picking pumpkins to carve for Halloween. Want to come?" Simba nodded, excited to agree. During the week at PAW Elementary School, Mason made art with leaves, learned about the fall season, and went on a nature walk. When he came home from school, he told Mama and Roxy all about it, using hand motions when he would talk. Mason woke up early, put his favorite blue sweater on, and got ready for his pumpkin picking adventure. They went on a hayride, picked their pumpkins, and played while the sun tried to come through the sky that was gray. Later, they set up to carve their pumpkins. Roxy asked, "What are you going to make? A ghost, a bat, or a scary face?" Roxy carved a witch, and Noelle made a bird while Vladdy carved a mummy. Then, Mommy displayed them in the perfect place. The next day, Papa and Mason made a scarecrow and ghost for the yard, using leaves and Papa's old clothes. Then, they gathered the rest and put them in garbage bags, lining them up in rows. Roxy and Mason laughed about all the fun they had had that day before Mama and Papa read them a bedtime story all about the fall. Sitting in the living room next to the fire, Mason thought about what he'd be for Halloween after all. He then quickly announced he would be a tree, so he could show how the leaves changed. Mama thought it was a great idea, and Roxy decided to be an acorn. Mama winked. I think that can be arranged. The next day at school, Simba invited Mason and Roxy to a sleepover at their house. It'll be fun. My parents said we can even have a bonfire and watch this movie about a friendly ghost. Mason couldn't wait to ask Mama if they could go. Staring out the window, Mason thought about all the fun they'd have while he watched the leaves blow. That night, Mama and Papa said yes to the sleepover and asked who else would be there. Mason said with an evil smile, Vladdy, Spunky, Harwich, Simba, Noelle, Roxy, and some of their friends that we can scare. Mama dropped them off at Simba's house with their sleepover bags, making sure they had sweaters and scarves for the night. It was such a great sleepover full of fun, s'mores, movie scares, and more, that they fought going to sleep with all their might. As October went on, the days became shorter and got darker earlier. Mason said, It's really starting to feel spooky. 2 more days before we trick or treat. On Halloween night, they got dressed up in their costumes and took pictures before they walked down the street. The friends counted the candy they collected and started trading snacks with one another. Mason smiled, looking around at their group and feeling happy to be a big brother. At school the next day, the halls were buzzing with excitement because the students knew they had done a good deed. The school held a craft fair, and they'd raised enough money to help people in need. Mason and Vladdy sold the most wreaths and got to declare their charity of choice. Mama was proud to see Mason taking it seriously and using his voice. Vladdy and Mason decided to donate to a local soup kitchen and volunteer with their families to give thanks to the community. The experience was fun, and everyone came together to help, giving the boys a great feeling of unity. With Thanksgiving around the corner, Mama, Mason, and Roxy made pumpkin pie and an apple cake. The family had a great time bonding with Mama, learning how to bake. On Thanksgiving morning, the family watched the parade and began to cook. Turkey, lasagna, corn, and potatoes, oh my! It was a feast to share, and the table had quite a look. They went around the table and gave thanks. Mason was thankful for family and the friends he had made over the past few years. They all raised their glasses and rang out, "Cheers!" After dinner, they played a board game together, and Mason asked, "Can we go out and look at the stars?" As they laid the blanket in the grass, Roxy asked, "Oh, wow, is that Mars?" Mason and Roxy shook as they came inside. It was too cold to sit out anymore. Getting tucked into bed, Mason felt thankful and talked to Papa about the autumn season, as he slowly fell asleep and began to snore. The end. Thank you for reading along. Be sure to rate and follow my page for new episodes posted daily.